What's up chaps, I'm MagicalMike and you're watching Dark Souls 2. This is my second character that I beat the game on. She's a strength, faith sort of hybrid focusing mainly on OP lightning spear spam because it was a lot of fun. And because I already proved myself to the game in melee, so meh. Unfortunately the footage might be a bit choppy because I recorded at 30 FPS by accident, but we'll just overlook that. I'm actually on my 4th playthrough of the game at the moment, and I recorded this stuff about a week or so ago, and I've been streaming the whole of my current run so far. I recently just beat this area on my new Pyromancer as well, though it was an abysmal display of skill, if you can call it that, where I die over and over again for somewhat over an hour. If by some miracle you are still interested in watching that, the VODs are on my Twitch channel, which you can find at places. So I'll talk about the area that I'm going through soon, but first I wanted to talk about a few things concerning the game that have bothered me recently. Or I should be more clear with that, it's not the game itself that bothered me, it's some of the playthroughs that I've watched on Twitch. Now, bear with me here, because this might sound a little bit preachy, and I'm really trying to avoid that, because that is absolutely not my intent, but let's just try and make a point here. There's a lot of people who I enjoy watching play various different games. If there's ever a game or a series or a genre of games that you really love, and there's a person you enjoy watching, when you find them suddenly sharing an interest in that stuff that you love, it's a really cool moment. It's exciting to share these common interests, and that's how people form connections and stuff. But when somebody has a different experience to you, usually it's a negative one, it's incredibly disappointing. You really want other people to like what you like and find that same enjoyment that you did. So when people have bad experiences, it sucks. Dark Souls in particular is the newest series that fits into this category for me. I beat the first game after already spoiling it for myself, and I then beat this game on my own completely blind. Out of those two experiences, I can honestly say 100% that the blind playthrough was easily the most enjoyable one. So why am I explaining all of this? It's because recently I've been seeing a lot of people stream their first playthroughs of Dark Souls 1 and 2, and some Demon Souls as well, but I haven't been watching that, and they've been relying on the chat to tell them where to go, what to do, which weapons are the best, where to find secrets, what the boss does, how to beat the boss. It's something that I'm guilty of as well. When, for example, Bit was doing Majora's Mask, I couldn't help but offer a bit too much advice in certain areas. But basically, the chat can very easily ruin surprises for the streamer, which can, in turn, alter how that person reacts to things in the game, and this ultimately makes the reactions that much less interesting. I want to watch, and I want to know how the streamer reacts to finding that crazy cool secret on their own. If they open up that hidden wall because somebody in chat mentioned it, the reaction tends to be either, "Oh cool," or "Oh sweet, thanks man, I wouldn't have found that." It's boring. It's a completely different reaction to how they would have done so if they'd found it themselves. And this is what we call backseat gaming. And recently I've seen so much of it in Dark Souls streams that I just had to vent a little bit. I'd like to just wrap this little rant up by saying that everyone is absolutely entitled to enjoy things the way that they want to. If you want to follow a walkthrough of a game step by step, then go ahead. I'm not going to stop you, and if that's the way you want to do it, then more power to you. If you want to be led by the hand by your friend in co-op through the entire game, then sure, again, go ahead. But realise that it is affecting the viewer as well of these kinds of streams and videos. It is a real letdown to watch you summon somebody on your second boss attempt without even giving it a proper shot, only to then watch them solo it while you sit up on top of the place and just read chat instead. Like you didn't earn that. Where's the fun? I don't understand. Anyway, wow. I always seem to lose my direction in these sorts of rants, so hopefully I didn't confuse you guys too much or send any mixed messages. And again, I really don't want to send the wrong message across here. Everyone can absolutely play how they like. I just want to say that as a viewer, it's very saddening for me to watch somebody spoil the experience for themselves. It's very reminiscent of Twitch plays Dark Souls, if you can see that point of view. And now that that rant's over, I may as well talk about the remaining footage that we've got left. So, I start off obviously trying to parry this guy. Parrying in this game is great, and there we go, I actually hit it, and it's so satisfying to land a parry and a backstab in Dark Souls 2. So much more satisfying than it was in the first game. I went for a backstab on that guy, but the tracking on enemies is also much better in this game, along with all the animations and things like that, so they can turn around and deny that backstab quite quickly sometimes. But as you saw with the parry, it's hard to do. They're definitely harder to land because the timing's much more precise. But when you do land it, that knockdown that the guys fall over and they're on their arse and they're looking up at you, and depending on what weapon you've got, oh, the animations just, they're so satisfying. I've got a bastard sword with me right now, and this thing hits like a truck, and the way you just stab it in there like that, it's great, it's a lot of fun. And those one-handed and two-handed R2 attacks, or strong attacks if you want to say it like that, also way more satisfying to land those things. The moveset, I think, is pretty much similar to the Claymore in Dark Souls 1, and yeah, I liked that weapon. I stuck with it for a long time on my first playthrough, but the Bastard Sword and many other great swords in this game are really great. In this build in particular, I'm going Strength and Faith. You saw me there tossing some lightning spears. I used a number of great swords. I started out with the Bastard Sword, I moved on to a Claymore and used that for a while. I used the Mastodon Greatsword, and then I'm not sure if I used any others, but I definitely used the Throne Defender Greatsword as my final thing at the end of the build, which you're not going to see here, because this was somewhere about a quarter of the way through the game, so I'm not even close to getting that Greatsword. I also use miracles, so lightning spears, emit force, and I'm using a crossbow as well, because at this point I hadn't realised that you can actually use the binoculars to aim miracles, which is a nice handy tip if you didn't already know. So you can do that. I just didn't know that at the time. So for all my sniping needs, I'm using a crossbow, even though I could just be using my lightning spears. And here we're going to use Emit Force. This is a different spell. Lightning Spear does have a tiny AoE to it if you hit the ground, or if you hit water in particular, but Emit Force has a giant AoE when it hits the target. You see, it kind of explodes outwards. It's an interesting spell, definitely, but not as fun as Lightning Spears. But, seeing as I didn't have any other copies of Lightning Spear, I didn't have Great Lightning Spear at the time, I'm using Emit Force. It doesn't even do as much damage either, but I guess it makes up for it in that AoE capability. So, Huntsman's Copse is, obviously it's a foresty area. It's hard to see certain enemies, but when you do spot them and they're not paying attention to you, you can sneak up, I'm really hoping to get this, and get the backstab. Yes, so satisfying. Again, depends on what weapon you're using, but depending on what you're holding, that backstab animation is different, and all of them that I've used so far have been satisfying, without a doubt. The Bastard Sword there, you see my character kicks the guy's legs and knocks him to the ground. It's really great. And that was not even, I guess maybe halfway through that area, so I've cut all the rest of that out. I died once, which is why I'm now green, and I'm going to show you a boss, which looks remarkably easy. I trashed that guy. Wow, there's only 2 more to kill. Not a problem, right? Well, it is. Every time you kill one of these guys, he spawns 4 more dudes, which you then have to deal with. The difficulty in this boss isn't really dealing with the skeleton lords themselves, it's actually keeping the adds under control. But if you've got a nice big weapon like I do here, and a nice sturdy shield, you can just kill everything in pretty much one hit. The lords themselves won't die to one hit, but these smaller skeletons will. If you get complacent though, bad stuff happens, and you can very easily let this fight go out of control. On my first playthrough, I spawned all 12 of the smaller skeletons without even realising what was going on, and promptly got destroyed by that. So as I was saying with the copse, it's a foresty area, you can't really see all that much of what's going on. It's hard to spot the enemies, there's a lot of thief type guys, there's a lot of poison. It's an interesting area, there's certainly a lot of lore going on there, and I'd love to go into details, but there's just so much to talk about, and I've got this boss going on right now. And I don't know, man. The game is steeped in lore, and there's some flaws and strange things that people have pointed out in other videos, and yes, all that stuff, but I can totally overlook that, for example, the ship in No Man's Wharf has no room to turn around in the port, for example. I can overlook that because it's gameplay mechanics. It doesn't really matter all that much. What does matter is getting hit by this skeleton, and that fireball nearly killed me there. Nearly killed me. I was telling you, the boss isn't that difficult, but if you let those skeletons overwhelm you, you can get killed very, very easily. So this is the last skeleton lord, and these guys are actually vulnerable to backstabs. I believe I'm going to get one here. Yeah, there we go. And bam. Still got some life. That's because he's going to spawn the most scary enemy from Dark Souls 1. I think this is the only time when they appear in Dark Souls 2, but luckily if you're fast enough off the mark you can absolutely just get rid of them as fast as possible, and I would recommend doing that with two-handed attacks. And there you go. Thanks very much for watching and for putting up with that rant, and this guy's going to roll into shot like a weirdo. There you go. Thanks very much, and I will see you guys next time.